And welcome back to the weekly Journal Star high school basketball podcast. I'm sports editor Wes Huett here, as always. Our guys, Adam Duvall, John Komosa.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Here to talk some hoops. Had a big game last night. We have to start with that one. We had a couple of state-ranked teams playing at Woodruff, which I didn't even realize until John posted a photo that it just still looks like Woodruff. They haven't paint on the walls.
Painted anything.
I love it.
And it's crazy when you walk into that school, it's in perfect condition. Like,
nice.
It's clean. It's just the gym floor.
I think it's still used.
Yeah,
it's an academy of some sort. Yeah.
Do they still have Mid-State 6 banners?
Still got the Mid-State 6 banners.
Awesome.
Still have like the school fight song like in the left-hand corner of the gym.
Yeah.
It's
back in the day watching Charlie Thomas's teams.
Oh yeah,
probably
Rodney
the only thing that needs fixed is probably the loudspeakers because they're a little muffled. But that's a decade worth of dust up there. So, no, big game and highly anticipated game in the area between, like you said, two state-ranked teams, and it was a round 2 matchup.
Yeah.
Roanoke Benson and Quest. Obviously, Roanoke Benson going into the game undefeated, number 1 in Class 1A, and Quest got the best of them. You know, it was just a hard-fought game between both teams, and Quest was up 27-26 at halftime, then kind of controlled the third and fourth quarter a little bit, but really great job by seniors Isaiah Brown and Jamar McCall. It's like every time that Roanoke had a steal and would answer, that they just came right back down the floor and made a big shot, and it seemed like Roanoke would inch and then Quest would just pull away a little bit. Right. So 63-54 final, knocked them off, and they were actually without head coach Dustin Brooks.
Right.
He got ejected prior to a game on January 4th. That was at the Sandberg shootout. So per IHSA, he had to sit out, and they've actually been on that 17-day layoff. So those guys are obviously anxious to get out there and play, and you could see that they were fired up. So huge win for Quest there.
And we don't know the assignments haven't come out yet, so we really don't know where those two would match up when it comes to.
I haven't seen
the assignments are out. The
okay.
seeds and the schedules are not.
Okay.
Yeah, the at least for girls. I assume for the boys as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we're probably should have done our homework there to see where those two will match up.
But if they do, that'd be, round 3, just like we talked last week with Manual and Notre Dame. Those are highly anticipated games. You want to see those two teams face off for a third time because that'd be very, very fun to watch.
Well, we want to. I think we talked about going unbeaten is so hard to do in the regular season, and I think while it hurt last night, Abe had some nice thoughts in today's paper, like looking at game film when you're unbeaten is hard to tell kids that hey, you guys, you did something wrong even though you won. But now they'll have some things to talk about. And again, I think it might help them in the long run.
Oh yeah, and I did hear some chatter on Twitter, and I heard some fans even behind me at the game. It's like, thankfully we got that loss out of the way.
Yeah,
and I think honestly, like you said, you don't want to be undefeated in a regional championship and lose. That stings.
Yeah, sure.
1 or 2 losses going into the postseason. Always a little bit better to have, in my opinion.
I think Greg Bennett at Lewistown probably feels the same way.
Definitely.
They suffered their first loss of the season. They're actually their third loss in the last 66 games.
Wow.
So they lost to Pleasant Plains, a real good 2A team that had a lot of sophomores. When Eureka went to the state finals a few years ago, those girls are seniors now. But Lewistown got that loss out of the way, and Brimfield looms tomorrow night. It'll be
right.
Lewistown, who's now ranked number 2. Amboy jumped them. Brimfield number 3. So 2 versus 3 tomorrow night.
Be a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to slip into some of the area best. We're going to talk, maybe highlight a team or a player, or someone who's, breakout seasons, did I say? Highlight a team or a player. We can start on the girls' side. We were speaking about Lewiston, but who do you have over there, Adam?
You know what? I'm going to go with a small school in Knoxville, despite the fact that they're 24-1. They're ranked 2nd in 2A. They just have so much balance. Kinley Stearns, Hannah Jones, Cass Grady, Brianna Shrevers. They all scored in double figures the other night against Elmwood. They still have just one loss, that triple overtime defeat to Monmouth Roseville. A week from tomorrow, They play Lewistown. So, I mean, Knoxville is just one of those teams that's, consistent and has been consistent all year. And I think, they could make some noise in 2A for sure.
Well, what I like, it seems to be a hallmark of a lot of really small schools, really good sports in small schools, is that you have multi-athletes, people who play in multiple sports. You saw it with Lewiston, you see it at Knoxville. Shreves is a name that you see in track and cross country, and I'm sure there's some of those girls play other sports as well.
Some volleyball girls in there,
Yep.
some softball, track and field. Yeah, I mean, you're getting those 3 sport athletes, and I like to call them a dying breed.
Sure.
A lot of the 2-3, Hannah Hicks from Illini Bluffs is one girl that always comes to mind who's just excels at 3 sports, and that's
I don't know. I
That's great to
think you're
see.
going to find that, I don't know, maybe if you put numbers to it, I think there are a few more multi-sports athletes than we think they are. They just tend to not be the elite players. I think that's
Yeah.
really what you're
right.
saying. Like someone like Hannah Hicks is a dying breed to the point that she can excel at multiple sports.
Yeah, she's definitely.
Over on the boys' side, we touched a little on Quest. So let's on the boys' side, you somebody who's surprising you this week.
We'll go to the large school.
Yeah.
They're slowly kind of climbing up, and they're going to make the power ranks this week. But Morton, been very impressive. And even looking back at their schedule, they beat Washington and Metamora back-to-back nights, or not back-to-back nights, but consecutive games.
Sure.
And they're 7-1 in the Middle NA, 13-9 on the year. They just played the number 9 Galesburg, who's in 3A, and they've won 17 straight. And Morton hung with them close. They only lost by 8 in that game, and they have some quality wins. They had a win over Rockridge, and they just beat Limestone and Dunlap in overtime yesterday. So this team, I watched them at the beginning of the year. It looked like they were working some kinks out, but now they're starting to kind of find their identity a little bit, and obviously meshing really well together. So that's a team kind of down the stretch. They'll, obviously could. Leader of the Middle NA, but could contend for maybe, a postseason run, something like that. So they're fun to watch. And Josiah Getz, Grant Gudeman, and Bo Durbin are helping lead that Potter squad.
All right, we're gonna large school on the girls. We're gonna stay in the Middle Illini. You got a breakout person over there, Adam?
Yeah, Kaylee Baker from Washington, senior point guard there. She had 20 points in a nice road win for them Monday at Normal U High. Normal U High is state ranked in 2A. They handed Brimfield their lone loss. And Kaylee came to play. She's got a really nice 3-point shot, can get to the basket, finish through contact. Really stepped up and, carried the Panthers as, U High kind of made a, furious comeback, but, sure enough, Kaylee's kind of steady hand, and being that senior, can never hurt. And that's so Kaylee Baker from Washington. She's my breakout player this week.
All right. Well, about 10 minutes or so before we came on the air here to do this podcast, the new state ranks were released. We'll start over there. Adam, we're already with you with the girls. What's
So
it look like over there?
Yeah, like I mentioned in 1A, Lewistown is 2, Brimfield's 3. Princeville moved up to 8, and I think talking to John Gross a few weeks ago, they were up to 9 a few years back. So I think this is the highest ranking that they've had in program history. So,
wow.
Tip of the hat to the Lady Princes. Knoxville is 2 in 2A. Richwoods is 5 in 3A. Peoria High is 6. Morton was the unanimous number 1. Another great matchup a week from tomorrow. Peoria High and Richwoods. Richwoods is hosting Central next week. Peoria High won that first meeting, which was a non-conference, so a non-Big 12 meeting. They'll go at it as with a Big 12, not necessarily the title, but I think it's a battle for second. Okay. So.
How about over on the boys' side? Anything jump out at you? for the state ranks?
Kind of. The only thing is Galesburg got in there finally,
Okay, yeah.
and obviously 17 straight victories is enough to get you some votes. They moved up to number 9 after receiving votes last week, and then the only other thing that kind of changed there was Notre Dame popped up to number 5. They were tied for 6 last week in Class 3A. Roanoke falls out of the top spot in 1A, goes right down to 3, and then Quest moves up 2 spots to number 7. So not too much of a shakeup. A team gets in and one falls out of the top spot, but so.
All right. Before we we neglected to go over the area best. Anything you guys want to spotlight among anybody entering your ranks this week that want to mention, or we can just move on to this week? Or?
You know what? Actually for the 3rd week in a row, my ranks stay exactly the same.
Oh wow!
So there's been not much movement on the girls' side.
We're getting to that time of year where teams are locked in. Getting that, we've kind of decided and then just playing out the string and getting to the postseason when it matters.
Little bit of a mix-up at the bottom. Metamora falls out, lost 2 straight games. I really like Morton lately. They jump in at number 5. We got Washington at number 4. They just had a nice win over Muhammad Seymour, and they beat Metamora last week. And Galesburg's up at 3.
And lost to IVC.
Oh, IVC.
And Manual and Notre Dame complete the 1-2 where they've kind of stayed at. Quest hopped over Roanoke on the small school side. They take over number 1 spot. Roanoke at 2. IVC moves up to 3. And then DMAC is at 4, and Peoria Christian enters the ranks this week.
What's happening?
At number 5, Peoria Christian, 8 of the last 10 games they've won, 15-5 on the year, still undefeated in Tri-County Conference, and just had a nice win over Brimfield. So I like the Chargers, Daniel Duncan. Do a feature on him on Friday.
Of course. Nice. Well, I would like to celebrate my alma mater's basketball teams, but I think East Peoria girls and boys have just both been removed from the Illini in hoops wise this season. It's been a pretty rough season for the Raiders on both in both sports. Moving on. We'll look ahead to the weekend.
It bears repeating on the girls' side. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
East Peoria?
No, Brimfield at Lewistown tomorrow night. Big Thursday.
Ahead, yes.
Yeah, state matchup there. Brimfield goes on the road. I think the X factor in this game for Brimfield will be Ella Loon. Lewistown has a lot of good guards. They don't have much size underneath, so I'm thinking that Ella Loon will play a big factor in this. And then I had one more. Morton hosts Rock Island on Saturday. I wish this game would have happened last year when Bree Beal was still playing. She's at South Carolina now. Tinley Dowell's at Butler. That would have been an awesome game last year. But yeah, so this will still be a really good game. And Morton puts its 30. Let me check my notes.
30 over win streak.
Yeah,
in the Illini. Yeah, 30 something.
No. Overall, they've.
Wow.
Yeah, they've won 33 in a row.
What's the Mid-Illini streak at? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
it's hit 55.
And I don't think it's gonna go into next season.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, they haven't really been challenged by anybody in the Illini.
No,
so far
they haven't. No.
All right, what's on tap for the weekend for the boys, John?
One game I really want to spotlight is Friday night. It's a second meeting between Notre Dame and Peoria High. This time, Irish travel to Peoria High to face them at home. They met earlier in December, and Irish got the best of them, 72-51. I don't think it's going to be lopsided like it was earlier. I honestly think Peoria High at home, I've watched them a couple times this year at home. They're pretty solid. It just seems like they're more – I almost want to say like a Purdue type, where they're a lot better at home than they are on the road at times, except for Illinois last night.
Wow!
But I think
college hoops bleeding into the podcast.
I think Notre Dame's kind of got that target on their back. Obviously, being state ranked, and with some of these city teams want the best shot at them. I think it'll be a closer game this time around. And this is a Big 12 conference game. The last one was non-conference. So that'll be 7 p.m. Friday night. So,
and knowing Dan Ruffin's teams over the years, they always tend to get better as the season goes on. Again, I just think it's his MO that, similar to what we were talking about earlier, the regular season to him is sort of, it's getting prepared for the postseason. So, I honestly, speaking about, Notre Dame so far has showed that they're head and shoulders the best team in the city this right now, but Peoria High and Manual would not be teams that I would want to play in the postseason.
Definitely not, especially this time of year.
It just really feels like there's not a lot of elite talent, but I feel like these teams are deep, and the coaching starting to come around a little bit in the city, and
in Notre Dame too, they're obviously, like you said, head and shoulders above everybody, but they have, even from last year to this year, they've played some very close games down the stretch. Obviously, free throws has kind of separated them, but I think in a game like that where a team kind of hangs around, you wouldn't want Manual Peoria High to be right there, because things could go either way.
Sure.
One bucket here, one steal there could obviously lead to a victory. So I think it'll be a good game. I do remember, I want to say either last year or 2 years ago, Peoria High did beat them at the buzzer on like a Deonix Hogan breakaway layup or something. So it's always a fun game between the two.
All right, we're going to make some picks. The aforementioned Brimfield-Lewiston game. We will.
Well, I'm going to give Greg Bennett, Joey McLaughlin, and the Lewistown girls some bulletin board material.
I felt like that when you said that before, with Ella Loon being the X factor.
I think Ella Loon's going to be the X factor. I got Brimfield winning this game.
Whoa. Joko and myself really knowing nothing about this, right? So we'll.
I want to see if I was right with my pick last week when I picked Lewiston.
They did.
They beat
Illini Bluffs.
They beat Illini
That's how
Bluffs.
little he knows. He doesn't even know
So
who won that game. Yeah.
I see the scores pop up, but I'm gonna go try to go 2 for 2 this week and say Lewistown again.
Lewistown, you got that right.
Lewistown.
I'm gonna go Lewistown.
I'm going Lewistown too. I can't pick against Greg. He'll call my cell phone and yell at me or something. So. On the boys' side, we got Kewanee at Farmington's an interesting matchup.
The Saturday schedule was kind of a shuffle. There's some games, games that could be lopsided. And I picked this one out. I think this is like the best game that stood out is 16-4 Kewanee at 15-4 Farmington.
Is that 3 p.m. Saturday?
3 p.m. Saturday.
Well, we talked about this. 2A, there's sort of a power vacuum in 2A because there's so many Chicago teams that have trickled down into 2A. They all obviously can't get to Supers and State. So there's a situation where I think there's going to be a Central Illinois team that rises up, or someone downstate that's going to surprise people, aside from the Rock Ridges and the Pickneyvilles and stuff. But I think Kewanee could be a team that could surprise some people.
Yeah. 3 p.m. Saturday. So I don't know. I like Farmington in this one. I think their defense is pretty solid, and being at home, they got to obviously travel. Farmington's there, ready to play, and Farmington's coming off a win over Peoria Heights, and a lot of different guys on that team can score for them. They got Corbin Rutledge, Jaden Rutledge, Ben Martin. I just think they're a well-rounded team, and I'll go with the Farmers.
Give me the Rutledge brothers.
Jeff Otto, right?
Jeff Otto, yeah.
Yeah, he was Canton's coach when I started, and always has those guys playing defense and getting ready to play. So
I'll take
Farmers too.
Farmers.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up this week. I think we've jabbered enough about high school basketball. So, if you want to check out these guys' coverage this weekend, pjstar.com/preps. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Duvall and at JCOM91. And then you can follow the hashtag PJSPreps. So for Wes Huett and Adam Duvall, John Komosa saying goodbye.